You are listening to the Unsoberly Sober Show. I'm your host, Magnify Maggie. This podcast will turn your perception of going sober upside down. We're going to be working from the inside out to get you that dream life. So make sure you stick around for the end of the episode where I'm going to walk you through our weekly positive pursuit exercise to begin rewiring that beautiful mind, baby. Hello, my free and powerful friend. We are back with another episode of the Unsoberly Sober Show. And boy, I got my happy pants on. I'm so excited today because we're pulling the curtain back and we're talking about the most impactful lessons, content pieces, lifestyle changes that the Magnify Course and Community has provided to members. I recently had, I would say, my most OG member. She was probably one of the very first people to get into the monthly membership and course module work with the Magnify method. And she wrote an email with this beautiful document. And she just said, hey, I've been reflecting over all my notes, over all of my lessons, over all of my progress since being a part of the community. And these are the topics that have changed my life the most. And the document has, I would say, probably 50 different line items on it. And I just wanted to have a little fun today. I wanted Rob to have the list that I have skimmed over. I recognize the lessons because they're things that I talk about all the time. They're probably things that we've talked about here before as well. But from her point of view, what she wrote out, I'm just going to have Rob read off a couple that like stand out to him. What intrigues him? What has his curiosity saying, tell me more? Because I think from his point of view is also going to be what you guys would look at that sheet of paper and say, oh, tell me more about this. That way you get a feel for what the members are experiencing for free right here, because that's one of the purposes of this podcast, is to give people access to out-of-the-box alternative sobriety and mental health strategies. But if you're like, hey, I've been listening or I love this content, but it's not actually working in my life because I don't know how to apply it, this is also your invitation to get into the course and community. It is the first link in the link list under the description of this episode. It is a monthly membership that is $200. Think if you're spending $50 a week right now on alcohol, this is an even exchange. If you are spending $20, but you're missing out on a lot of life experiences, making more money, having more free time, having health and happiness, then dang, this is a pretty price-worthy little purchase, right? Getting into the course and community, weekly trainings, as well as the course modules and the community area is just so valuable so that I can help you be accountable. You're in this with other people. You're also financially accountable. So there's just a wealth of beneficial factors to this community space that is a lot more of an achievable price than one-on-one coaching, if that's not your arena either. So get in the course and community and you'll learn a lot more about some of the topics that one of our OG members submitted. So Rob, I'm just gonna have you say what caused intrigue first, and then I'm gonna go from there.
Okay, the first thing that steps out or stands out for me is C-type goals. What does that mean?
Okay, so members in the Magnify community, VIP members as well, we are very goal-oriented. And what I find to be true is that most of us struggling with addictive behavior, binge drinking, or all the way stage 4 alcohol use disorder, is that we have tricked ourselves into thinking that we are achieving goals when they're not actually healthy goals. So we talk a lot about the A, B, C types of goals. And I actually work individually with some of the community members to help them up the ante on their goals. But here's the rundown. An A-type goal is a goal that you've kind of tricked yourself into thinking you're achieving something, but you've already achieved it before. Bob Proctor teaches this lesson, and he says that if you've bought a car, I think he says like a Chrysler or something, a Pontiac. If you bought a Pontiac and then 4 years later, your new goal is to buy another Pontiac, you're tricking yourself because you already know how to do that thing, but you're just doing it again. And so a lot of us in our life, we just keep setting the same type of goal because we know how to do it over and over again. And then once we get that thing, we're like, why am I not happy? That's because goals are not for getting things, they're for growing. So an A-type goal does not include any type of personal growth. You already know how to do it, so you're just setting a safe goal. That's what an A-type goal is, really very safe. But they're boring. They don't cause expansion. We don't actually learn new things. We just keep doing the same thing over and over again. A B-type goal is a little bit better, but this is really where a lot of us get stuck. We set goals based on circumstances and what we think we can do. When we think we can do something, we're also thinking about what we can't do. So within the B-type goal, we're constantly reinforcing our limiting beliefs while hoping and wishing that circumstances pan out so that we can reach this goal. So I'm going to get the new job when the kids are out of the house. I think I can get this new job, but it requires the timeline to line up perfectly or the resources. I'm going to get a personal trainer after I lose a little bit of weight. A lot of times we set a goal of like what the goal is actually going to help us with. And we're like, I'm going to do that after I already achieved that goal, which doesn't really make any sense, right? I'm going to get involved in that course when I have enough money. Now that one seems pretty rational, right? We need enough money to buy the course. But what if you decided to get into the course and you just made the money to get in? You don't know how you're going to make the money, but when you make the decision, it actually happens. A B-type goal is circumstantial and anchored in limiting beliefs and what we think we can do. When we're always working with A and B-type goals, our life is mediocre. It's not exciting. A and B-type goals are typically not authentic, what we truly want, but usually built off of the expectation of others, what we think they want from us, what we think we should be around these people. Dun, da, 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 introducing C-type goals. So a C-type goal is a goal in which you have no idea how to get there, but damn, your heart desires it. You want that thing more than anything, but it's kind of really scary because you know you're going to have to grow, you're going to have to change. There's going to be a lot of learning lessons. You have no idea A through Z how you're going to get there, but you can see Z and you can see yourself being in that place and living happy and healthy and productive and fulfilled. And you wake up every day feeling like you have purpose and, again, sense of direction from last episode. A C-type goal, Magnify, was my C-type goal. Most of my clients come in when they first start kind of kicking their feet saying, well, you know, I've kind of had this thought in the back of my mind about like, I've wanted to start this business, this teaching business, or I wanted to open up a restaurant. I wanted to open up my own consulting agency. They've got like these C-type goals, but they're very timid about them. They're like a little embarrassed. People probably told them that they're crazy. That's usually a quality of C-type goals. People tell you you're crazy for even dreaming about it. But these C-type goals are what keep us anchored, focused in the future, and give us fulfillment and excitement. So again, a C-type goal is what your heart really wants to do. It's something that's rooted in your authentic goals, your desires, your talents, your gifts, your spirit, who your spirit wants to be. And it causes expansion. It recruits growth because you have to learn how to be a different type of person in that C-type goal. Goals are not for getting, they're for growing. So in order for me to be a business owner helping other people free themselves from self-sabotaging drinking, I had to become a different type of person. I wasn't just getting the business and getting clients. I was growing into a leader, growing into a business owner, growing into somebody who's organized and productive and inspiring and insightful and curious and studious and all of these attributes that I never had before. And so, of course, when I looked at that goal of Magnify back from where I was sitting saddled up at the bar, that looked crazy. I didn't know how to fill that gap, but that is the quality of a C-type goal. That means that every step along the way, you're more excited. You're learning, oh my gosh, my days are so exciting. Alcohol, who? That wouldn't even fit. So the member that submitted this actually realized that she was living her life off of A and B goals and doing very well in her field, being promoted to operational leadership, but then realizing that really wasn't making her happy. And she was conditioned to just believe that that's what people do to be happy. Why am I not happy now? Well, she wasn't doing anything for herself. So she stepped back. She's part-time with them now, and she's looking into opening up her own brick and mortar health facility. And she's being very charitable with it, calling back from last episode, to where she can even extend out and help young girls with their fitness so that they learn that they are more than just their bodies. They're more than just their physical appearance. So she's morphing her medical knowledge with health and wellness, becoming a trainer, becoming a business owner, having a brick and mortar place. That is what's exciting her. But all the while, she's also like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning along the way. So it's very exciting. And I just love getting messages from her. She's like, my life, my drinking, it's completely changed, completely different. That's a thing of the past. Let's talk about the future. So that is C-type goal.
I like that.
What do you think
challenge.
about? Yeah.
C is for challenge.
C is for challenge. I think it's also like, in my mind, it's like creation.
Yeah.
Like you're actually being creative in the C-type goal. You're taking an idea. It's like being your own little inventor almost.
Well, you said it in the previous episodes is really interesting to me that we're built here to create. Like humans are here to like move, create, challenge ourselves. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of things, like stagnation is like the death of everything.
It's poison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you think about a stagnant water, like stagnant water.
I was thinking stagnant water too.
Right? Like it breeds death and mosquitoes and toxicity. And then you look at water that runs and it goes through a lot of things and it just...
That's a really good visualization too. Of like, if you're sitting on your couch and you're like, what do I do with my life? You are stagnant water. And I see like the algae, I don't know, algae's probably good for the environment. I don't really know. But like the nastiness, like the film, the swampiness of like the still water. And then how beautiful the water is in a flowing river. That's you when you actually get in groove with your C-type goals and creating things. I think that's good to think about. I've never really thought about C can stand for challenge, creativity, confidence. You have to have confidence. So
another thing I like to talk about is adapting. Mm-hmm. Like I think a lot of people get stuck in, they just get stuck, right? Like talking about stagnation. But adapting is something that I think you have to learn to do, because if you don't know how to adapt, then you're kind of screwed.
Oh yeah.
You're kind of screwed.
I think that's a big part of self-image too. It's like, I'm just who I am. You have to love me for it, versus I have these things that I can adapt and work on. You know, have you ever met anybody who's like, I'm just a really blunt person. You have to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, you could also adapt your communication skills. You're putting it all on us to just accept you as who you are when you're justifying your quote unquote blunt, maybe even poor behavior. It's like you have to be able to adapt. And I remember watching, I think I've shared this before, but I was watching one of David Attenborough's planet shows about animals and stuff. And you would recognize his voice if you don't recognize his name. He's like British, old Steve Irwin kind of thing going on. But he said something really interesting in an episode where he was like, humans are at a distinct advantage where if any other species wanted to adapt to a new environment, it would literally have to grow an arm, grow a leg, grow some physical adaptation to improve its existence, to improve the quality of the race. It would need to grow gills or grow the capacity to breathe out of water if it's now breathing underwater. Like animals outside of the human species, animals have to physically adapt. Whereas humans, we have this innate ability to adapt based off of just getting one new idea and acting on it. From just one new idea, our entire race or just somebody's personal life can change. And adaptation is incredibly important. And I think that's a quality of gaining your C-type goal, is being able to adapt, be flexible, learn, have new ideas, act on them, learn some more, and just keep dreaming big.
We're going to skip to shame leads to further negative emotions and less self-worth. So I feel like this is something, if you don't adapt, a lot of this can happen.
A lot of negative stuff can happen.
Yeah. Okay. So say it again for me.
Like that segue?
That was
Shame
good.
leads to further negative emotions, less self-worth, and more drinking.
Okay. So when we're looking at emotions on a grand scale, and we're not necessarily putting titles to them immediately, but we're just looking at them on a spectrum, we can see that the ones like shame, anger, self-doubt, guilt, all of those are low frequency emotions, whereas compassion, excitement, self-pride, happiness, joy, confidence, all of these things, they're high vibe, right? Very high vibe emotions. No person can take positive action if they are in a low vibration, low frequency state. So if we look at any of the emotions, especially shame, we will see that blaming ourselves, being ashamed, will only dictate poor behavior. It is very unlikely that if I'm ashamed, I'm going to go out and hit the gym and feel good afterwards. What's more likely to happen? Shame, I'm going to want to escape the shame, usually with the same thing that put me in the shame state.
What are your tips to battle shame? Like, I remember as a kid, for some reason, I was always embarrassed for no reason. Like,
I know,
you're always
I
just kind of
feel
embarrassed when you're a kid.
like
even little kids now, like
Yeah.
when you come talk to them, they're kind of like embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember growing out of that, but it's just a weird thing that you, like, it's something that's in us, like being embarrassed or being shameful or, what do you remember how to get through that?
Well, the first thing that came to mind when you said that, my dad's voice, he used to always tell us this story of a kid that he grew up with that had a speech impediment that would say, nobody's perfect. So my dad would just always, like, if I was ever hard on myself, he'd say, nobody's perfect. So, shame comes in line when we identify as our quote unquote mishaps, failures, even as a kid. Like, I said something silly. Right. I wore something silly. People saw me with my nerd dad. Like, whatever the thing was that we were ashamed about, we were identifying as that negative, and we were hiding it. And I think it comes from trying to portray somebody who we're not, and then acting in ways that we believe we are and being ashamed about that. So what I mean is, like, we want to portray to everybody that we're perfect, that we have our shit together, that we're a cool kid.
Oh, and judgment and people being judging you for, like, oh, you're not cool enough.
Yes.
Blah, blah, blah. Maybe it also comes from, how you were raised, right? Like, if you weren't, like, necessarily built up as a toddler or anything like that, but like, obviously, like, that emotion is built into just us, right? Like, as humans. So, wow, like, it stuck out to me because if you don't know how to battle shame, it does lead to really bad spiral.
Yeah, That's like the downward spiral. Yeah. Shame is the gateway drug to downward spiraling. And if we were to like be able to have a conversation with one of my idols and favorite teachers, Gabor Mate, Dr. Gabor Mate says that shame is something that is built in us through experience as children, but it's not often that like the parent is intending to do that. It's just that the parent wasn't present to the child's needs in that moment through neglect, perhaps isolation, even things that they were taught, like put your kid in timeout. All of these kind of conditional beliefs about being a parent can instill shame, because if a kid is crying and the mom says, you can't cry, go to your room, be in timeout, or because they're angry and they're having a fit, and they get separated and isolated because of their emotions, they're going to feel ashamed about those emotions. So then shame starts to come as a kind of a side partner, a sidecar to the anger that we have. Now we have shame about the anger. The sadness that we have. Now we're shameful about being sad. If we were ever punished for expressing negative emotions, then we're probably going to have shame around that. We feel ashamed for feeling embarrassed because we were never able to communicate those emotions. There's so much to shame. But I think for kind of the beginner listener that is working on their drinking, the reason this topic is important in Magnify is because so often we mess up. When I say mess up in air quotes, we mess up, we have a drink, we have a slip up, and then we feel ashamed about it. That comes from a place of wanting to be better, wanting to do different. But if we let that shame consume us, then we're going to want to use the thing that helps us escape that shame that we've become very acquainted with since childhood, probably. And that's alcohol. So it becomes this loop. So instead of looking at any of your failures, your mess ups as shameful and letting that shame really consume you, say, bet I learned something. I might not do perfectly in the future because I'm not perfect, but I'm going to use this information to tweak things in the future. Get excited about the future. Draw the line in the sand and say the past is the past, and I'm not going to carry that shame into my future. Good selection.
I like that one, right?
Yeah.
Here's one. So are these all questions from people or like from the community?
Mm-hmm.
I like this one. This one's 4 to 6 month break to see how good you can feel.
Okay.
I like that.
So this is a method behind my madness. There are the reason why I created Magnify with the alternative strategy is because there are so many sober pages, sober coaches, AA, 12 steps, all of these things. There are so many routes and avenues out there at your disposal if you are ready to go 100% sober. But how many people are ready for that? Not very many. And actually, it's usually only when they hit rock bottom. But there are people out there that say, I want to control my drinking. I might not want to quit forever, but I do want to understand how to deal with life without it so that it can really just be something done on celebration. It really could just be something that I control. I think for a lot of people, they don't want full sobriety. They just want to have self-discipline and self-control and be able to emotionally regulate themselves. So for these people that are like, I don't want to go completely sober, I say, okay, that's fine. You don't have to go the traditional route. I don't live the traditional sober way now, but in order to get here, to actually be able to successfully moderate, meaning maybe once a quarter, never getting drunk, never even exceeding the limit to reach binge drinking, to truly have it under control, you need to learn how to live life without it. Most people that try moderation, They don't go long enough without it to see and learn how to handle stress without it. They don't understand how to shift their perspective of alcohol in and of itself. They actually usually still have the same perspective of alcohol being so fun, and it's the thing that helps me with stress, and it's my best friend, but I'm just going to control the frequency of it, right? But true moderation, and even as a stepping stone to complete sobriety, I see this all the time with members who are afraid of sobriety, and then they try the alcohol vacation for 4 to 6 months, and they're like, actually, I'm a different person. I don't even want to go back to that. But through this technique, you start to, first of all, you have a little bit more of open-endedness to it. You don't need to have a permanency, which scares a lot of people and puts a lot of force into the experience. It has this freedom to choose down the line, but within 4 to 6 months of taking absolute sober break from alcohol, absolute sobriety, you have so many opportunities to handle stress, re-perceive stress without alcohol. So you start to see, wow, alcohol actually made me more stressed in the past than helping me with my stress. You start to get your energy so you're not always tired, and you realize alcohol was making you very tired. It takes longer than a few weeks to really feel the bounce back effect after drinking for a prolonged time. So 4 to 6 months is like kind of a good compromise. It's not saying that you have to be sober forever, but it's long enough. It's longer than sober October or dry January to where your hormones actually rebalance. You build very healthy habits. You rebuild your self-image. And then at the 4-month mark, the 6-month mark, you're allowed to make a decision. And if you have a drink, I guarantee that it will be from a different standpoint, a different mindset, with control. And even through that, you're going to learn. Did you have fun? Did you like it? Do you want to go back to it? Do you not want to go back to it? And it helps really alleviate this self-image of, I'm the type of person that once I have one, I have to have a million. I'm the type of person that's all or nothing. I have one and it's never enough. And so in that 4 to 6 months, you see and you start to learn that's not actually who you are with the right strategy. That's how you see, I'm not just going back to old me. This is new me. And I can judge where I need alcohol from the right perspective, from a place of positive discernment. So I think it just gives people a little bit more confidence of like giving something a try and not having to be sober forever. That was a good one.
I like it. This one sticks out to me. Laws of nature. What does that mean?
Okay, so I told Rob to pick out ones that stood out to him. I told him not even to tell me because I didn't want to sound rehearsed or anything like that. But I was looking over the list. I was like, I bet he's going to pick that one, and that one deserves an entire episode. But I'm going to put it in a nutshell. And then we'll probably close out this week's episode and leave some more of these to visit down the line. So let's get a little metaphysical here. Do you remember last episode when I said, sometimes we live in a life where we think that there are just these capricious, arbitrary laws that mean that I am destined for failure and somebody else is destined for success? That's not true. We each have the same potential. We are each the most creative beings on this earth. We are all that way. There's nobody that's more destined for success than you, or nobody that's more destined for failure than you. What dictates your results in life is how you work in harmony with the natural laws of the universe. You are probably familiar with some of these laws, but I'm going to kind of just give a good opening description of them. There are 7 subsidiary laws under the primary law of nature. And it depends how your brain works, how you want to look at this. The primary law states that energy is 100% evenly present. Everything is energy. It's neither created nor destroyed. That's if you think from a scientific brain. The theologian would say the primary law is God is. Everything is God. God is evenly present in all places at all times. God is the cause and effect within, in and of itself, neither created nor destroyed. Primary law. Energy is, God is. Now, under that primary law are the 7 subsidiary laws. The first one is perpetual transmutation of energy, which is basically a very fancy way of saying that energy circulates all the time. Rob and I, right now, you can't see it, but we've got a circulation of energy. When he nods his head, my body picks up on that. I'm like, oh, he likes that. Oh, cool. When he sits over there and he's just kind of like staring off, which I'm just kidding. He never does. But like, if he were to like put his hands in his pockets and like kind of get low vibe, my body would receive that energy. We are always in transference of energy. We cannot see it, but energy is all around us. Energy is 100% evenly present. You cannot see it. If you had a fancy camera, you could. But in our own body, this is what I love about this law, the perpetual transmutation of energy. We are constantly taking in energy into our consciousness from the ether, from other people. So we're taking in energy and it's shaped and filtered through our conscious mind into our subconscious mind, through our body, through our cells, through cellular vibration, and then back out into the world. I'm channeling energy back to Rob. I'm channeling energy out to you through this microphone and this camera. However you're listening, through those speakers, through your headphones, I'm channeling this energy, right? If I want to get a new result in life, I need to take this energy into my consciousness and deposit it into my subconscious mind in a way that brings about that result. What I mean by that is, if I have a goal and the goal is to maybe start a new business, I'm just saying random things right now, start a new business, then all of the things that I hear, see, all of the conversations that I have, I need to be able to filter and shape that energy into, I'm going to be a business owner. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. This is what my business name is going to be. This is how it's going to be run. This is the name of it. When you focus on that energy long enough, it has to move out into form by law. Whatever we imagine, whatever we think about, that energy moves into form, through form, and back out into form again. So if you're getting negative experiences, negative results in your life, you're just not working in harmony with the perpetual transmutation of energy. You're taking everything in and you're shaping it into a negative. But if you take in energy and you make it positive, it has no choice but to move out into form. So focus on your goal long enough, hard enough. Like, focus is not even a good word. I'm trying to like magnify the shit out of your focus of that. And it has to move out into form. Stop focusing on what's bad because that's what's moving into form right now. So that's just the first one. Let's keep going. Any questions, Rob?
No.
Okay. More? No, that's just the first universal law. There's 7. So we're going to keep going. If you have any questions about them, though, as we're going through them.
No, I agree with that one.
Yeah, I think that one as well. Like, it's so important to realize that it works in both well, all of these, they work in both directions. You can use it in a positive manner or a negative manner. Just work in harmony with what you want. Okay, the next one, very similar, is law of cause and effect. So in our universe, there is a train of causation that happens. There is a cause to the effect. That effect then causes something else. That cause then affects something else, which turns into another cause. So everything that happens is constantly looping and affecting other things. But you can look at how to affect things with a positive cause. So, Earl Nightingale put this into really easy to understand format, saying, poor attitude, poor results. Fair attitude, fair results. Successful attitude, successful results. And so if we want a successful cause, if we want a successful effect, we have to have a successful cause. We get what we give. We reap what we sow. You've heard of this law in a lot of different ways. It's basically saying, put out to the world what you want and you will get it back. If you go into something with a negative attitude, you will have a negative result. That attitude was the cause of the effect. You didn't just wind up with a negative effect, even though you really, truly had a positive attitude. That's not the way the universe works. I can't think of any time where I had a really positive experience going into something saying, this is going to suck. I hate this. I'm not good at this. So law of cause and effect, it extrapolates to so many things, but just in the generic version today, think about your attitude being the cause of every single effect you have in your life. The way your attitude towards other people, your attitude towards your job, your attitude towards alcohol and sobriety is going to dictate the effect. It is proportionate. So that's law of cause and effect. The one that I think most people have heard of as a law that they kind of vibe out with is the law of attraction. Mm-hmm. Law of attraction is very popular. There's law of attraction coaches out there. There's programs, all these things. But what I think is really interesting is that law of attraction is actually a secondary law under the subsidiary law of vibration. And a lot of times law of attraction teachers are not even talking about the law of vibration, much less the other laws of the universe. So law of vibration is important to understand because attraction doesn't really hit the full spectrum without talking about vibration. So everything is moving. Nothing is at rest. If you were to look at the molecules of the wood in this table under a microscope, you would see that they're moving very slowly. If you could use what's called a Kirlian camera, you would see the energy radiating off of us, that our body is a vibrating mass of molecules vibrating at a very high speed. And what we vibrate with, what we are in harmonious vibration with, is what we are resonant with, what we are attracting into our life, but also seeing in our reality. So law of attraction, it kind of feels like I mentioned, I believe it was last episode, it's like, I want the car. I'm just going to imagine the car being that vibration, but dang, that car doesn't just magically arrive in my driveway. That's why you need to take it up a notch to the law of vibration, where it's, you have to put your body in the frequency of that vibration, that idea, that image, so that you're not just attracting it to you, but you're vibrating at a frequency where you see the opportunities to act to get that car.
I'll give you a good analogy.
Please do.
So I call it the beach analogy. Like you walk up to a beach and you have the radio, and then you turn on the radio and you do the dance party. Mm. You're going to attract the party. You're going to attract the crowd because people are going to see you having a good time, and they don't have the radio. So they're going to be like, well, what's that guy doing? He looks like he's having fun. So it's simple as like, or empty dance floor. It's always the first person to start dancing that attracts the crowd.
It does. You always need somebody first. Somebody has to
or
go
the
first.
DJ. If the DJ's vibing good music, that's it.
Yeah, but you attract people that like that music, that also want to dance. And music is literal vibration. So it strikes people. It gets to people's bodies, their cells. It makes them feel a different way. Like, hey, let me go out there on the dance floor and do something with this body and make friends. So like, that's a good metaphor, a good analogy for the law of vibration is like, if you turn your radio on, what frequency are you going to put your radio on? If you put it on sad music, you're going to attract a bunch of sad people that want to cry with you.
It's also dangerous right now because the vibration that people are tuning into are their phones. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's, depending on what your algorithm is showing you or what you're clicking on, you can it's a whole different.
If anybody has like, elderly parents and like always yelling at your parents to stop watching the news. That's how we are now with our cell phones. Like, it's like, if you can tell if somebody sits on social media too long, it's like, stop looking at social media. Stop watching the news. It's putting you in a negative vibration. But I think what law of vibration really taught me was like, it's not just about the law of attraction of what you intentionally want to attract to yourself. I think that's where law of attraction really starts to, it's like you can have anything you want, but that's the only direction that attraction works. That's not true. If you think about what you don't want, you're in vibrational harmony with that, and you're also attracting that into your life. If you're in a negative mindset and you're looking at social media, you're going to vibrate in resonance with the negative post. You're going to get emotionally involved in those. You're going to start vibrating at that frequency. And anybody in a negative vibration is going to take negative action. So it's really important to be like, what is my vibe? I know that's kind of a colloquial term now. People are probably getting over it by now, but like literally check in with your vibe. Are you feeling good? You're attracting good. Are you feeling bad, visualizing bad, expecting bad? That's what you're attracting into your life. So law of vibration, that one is really big. That was probably the most fundamentally changing for me. Next one would be law of polarity. So this is yin and yang. Everything in life has an equal and opposite. As bad as something is as good as it is. Social media, as bad as social media is also as good as it is. It's great at connecting us, horrible for some other things. We won't get into it. I'm sure podcast listening, as bad as it is as good as it is. Alcohol, as bad as it is as good as it is sometimes, right? Like as fun, oh my gosh, I love alcohol. That's how fun and good it is also as bad as the hangover is and bad as the behavior is and the consequences. So everything in life has equal parts good and bad, equal and opposite. You would not have hot without cold. You would not have right without left. You would not have front without back. But in that, understand that the law of polarity dictates that when you are feeling bad, all you have to do is shift your perspective and say, what is the equally opposite of this situation? If I'm in a low point, yes, it feels low, but there has to be a good to it. There has to be a benefit if there's a drawback too. Otherwise, it would just be blank. It would just be middle of the road. So as bad as it feels, as good as the benefit is, what is the benefit? Every single person has negative qualities, and as bad as those negative qualities are, is as good as some of those qualities are. So if you train your brain to only focus on the good, then you will literally ignore, not even notice the bad. Every circumstance, failure, that's how big the opportunity is. The law of polarity gives hope. And also, I think kind of like brings us back to reality. Like, hey, it's not the end of the world. Calm down. Like, quit freaking out, man. The law of polarity. And then like, I believe it's like its sibling law is the law of relativity, which I think is fascinating. Rob, you'll probably hear me now, since we're talking about it, you'll probably hear me talk. Like when I say things, I'll be like, yeah, but that's relative. I never understood relativity before understanding the laws of the universe. So like, if I say, I want to be better, better's relative, right? Mm-hmm. Everything is relative. I want to make more money. Well, what does that mean? So something is only good if you compare it to a bad thing. Something is only bad if you compare it to a good thing. If you take something bad instead of compare it to a good thing, and you compare that bad thing to something even worse, now that bad thing just became the good thing, right? So nothing is bad or good inherently. It's based off of how you relate it to others. This also opened up to mind how much I related everything to alcohol. It was like you think about one thing, and I was comparing to, am I drinking? Am I going to be hungover? Will I have energy? Will there be drinks there? The law of relativity really highlights how you perceive things. And perception is everything. It's absolutely everything. I've had clients who say, I'm really not happy in my apartment. It's kind of in the slums of this neighborhood or this town, and I don't like my neighbors, and I don't feel safe. And obviously I have compassion and empathy for them, but I see a shift in their mood immediately when I say, yes, but how did it feel last month when you were sleeping in your car? That's being able to compare something right now to feel better. If it feels like a bad circumstance, compare it to something worse, and all of a sudden it's a good circumstance. They say comparison is the thief of joy, but only if you compare things out of harmony with the law of relativity. If you compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20, you're probably going to feel like it stole your joy. But if you compare your chapter 1 to before you even started writing, you're going to feel proud of yourself. So be cognizant, be aware of how you relate things to other things. And this is really going to be a big mindset hack for you. Okay, we've got 2 more. I'm going to go speedy. Okay, so the next one, law of rhythm, my friends. And the law of rhythm really actually has nothing to do with dancing, but hey, it sounds fun. The law of rhythm states that our whole universe operates in rhythm. So after winter, we have spring, and then after spring, we have summer, and then after summer, we have fall, and then after fall, we have winter again. And we never have summer after fall. We never have spring after summer. This is the rhythm of our seasons. We have the sunrise, the sunset, then the moon, and then the sunrise again. It would never be night unless you're at the poles. It would never be night for a whole year. Like, that's not the rhythm. The tides of the ocean, everything is in rhythm, right? Well, we as human beings, we have biorhythms, and we have 3 to speak of. So we've got our physical rhythm, we've got our intellectual biorhythm, and then we've got our spiritual or emotional. So at times, all 3 of these rhythms might be in sync, and you could be at what's called a critical high. At times, you might be at a critical low. So what this means, physical rhythm, sometimes of the month, you're going to be like jumping down the street, running everywhere, feeling good, hopping right out of bed. And that'll be your physical high. Other times of the month, you don't even want to get out of bed. You can't even think about getting off the couch. Your body needs recharged. Okay, so that's a physical high and low. Intellectual high would be doing math without a calculator, being able to basically solve stress with ease, creative problem solving. You're intellectually sharp, clear-headed, all of those things. Intellectual low moment, when your intellect needs to recharge, is when you can't add basic math. You can't remember people's names. You don't know what you had for lunch today. Things of that nature. You're intellectually dull. That's normal. Humans have these biorhythms. And then spiritual, emotional, there's going to be times of the month where you are feeling yourself. You're like, yeah, I'm excited. I believe in my goals. I'm going to get there. I've got this. I'm confident. I am moving and grooving. And then other days of the month, you're going to be like, fuck, what am I doing with my life? I hate this. I don't know if I can ever feel the good again. Here's the thing. You have to recognize that this is normal and that you didn't do anything wrong inherently. It is part of your own accountability that you need to do to like check in on your habits. How are your habits affecting these biorhythms? But if you're sleeping well, you're not drinking frequently, you're eating right, you're getting sunshine, all of these things should be running pretty normally, where there's going to be highs and lows, ebbs and flows, right? What this law taught me was that this too shall pass. If 1 week I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to host these events and I'm going to talk about this on the next podcast episode. And this is what we're going to do in the Magnify community. And this is what I'm going to do with my one-on-one clients. I'm like really, really high on life. And then the next week I'm like, God, that feels really hard. What I tell myself is this too shall pass. my emotions are just recharging and I'm not going to be here forever. And I recognize that in the past, that downtime, that loss of momentum, the recharge that was definitely needed, I would use that as an excuse to drink or escape. Not necessarily an excuse, but definitely a justification. I'm down. I need to feel better. This is probably going to be how I am permanently. I need to drink. So understanding the law of rhythm and that sometimes we are just at a critical low, especially if all three of those are at a low at once, we can feel absolutely stuck, but it's only for a few days and you bounce back even better. And if you remember this too shall pass, then you are less likely to get consumed by shame and then self-sabotaging behavior, which prolongs the need to recharge, prolongs those low vibe feelings. So law of rhythm, remember, we just ebb and flow, we bounce back. Sometimes we're at lows, sometimes we're at high highs, and just enjoy the ride, babies. Okay, one more, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. Law of gender. Okay, so this one is not as politically charged as it sounds. Law of gender decrees that every seed has a gestation or incubation period. So when we plant a seed, it does not just whoop, pop out, full grown, healthy, here I am, hear me roar. You can think about conception of a human being. It takes 9 months. And what happens in those 9 months of that seedling coming to life? It's being nurtured. It's being nourished. It's being protected. The mom is probably speaking loving energy into her tummy and rubbing it with love and putting herself in loving environments and really nurturing that seed, right? If you are a gardener, you have a green thumb, or you're even a farmer, you plant your seeds and you take care of them. You don't go out there and dig them up and say, are you blooming? Are you alive down there? No, you make sure that the seed has sunlight and the proper soil and the proper hydration. Well, law of gender decrees that our goals are spiritual seeds. We are planting seeds that we want to bring to life. We are creating new lifestyles, new patterns for ourselves. How many times do we as individuals give up on a goal if we do not see it come to life in a day, a week, a month? Rob, I just want to see, like, do you have like long-term goal set? Like, do you have that good mindset, or is it sometimes like you want to go out and dig at your seedling? And be
As
like,
I get older, it's gotten better.
Yeah.
Patience is a virtue. You know what I mean?
I think so too. We learn with age that like, you got to love the journey, not just the end state, kind of thing. But the law of gender is so important to keep in mind when you have a goal. The only way that seed is going to bloom and blossom, that spiritual seed, is if you nurture it and you do things that are aligned with your goal. Does this action take me closer to my goal or further away from my goal? So in the metaphor of the seed, taking it further away from coming to life would be digging it up, maybe putting it in the dark, giving it really old, dry soil, not giving it the right conditions. Maybe even for y'all plant folks out there, this is bad. Maybe it's yelling at your plants. Maybe it's just being in a bad mood around your plants. Your plants are going to die. So that would be like, let's say for somebody who wants to cut back on drinking or quit drinking entirely, what that would look like is every single day picking out old wounds that make them want to drink more, or saying, why am I still thinking about alcohol? And really relating everything to alcohol still, instead of saying, I'm still giving it time. My new sober, alcohol-free identity, control identity is growing. So what do I need to do to encourage that growth? Maybe it's reading this book. Maybe it's doing this workout, cleaning my house, giving myself these enjoyable gamified tasks, if you will. So in weight loss, digging up the seed would be going to McDonald's drive-thru because you forgot to meal prep. Whereas nurturing the seed would be, okay, I forgot to meal prep. I'm going to go by the grocery store and do the salad bar and get a lot of protein in my fresh salad for my lunch. Or, I'm going to make sure that I meal prep this weekend so that I'm better off. That's going to be nurturing the goal. So instead of like digging it up, you have to remember there's an incubation, a gestation period of which it needs nurturing. You need to grow into the type of person who can take care of that goal, who can achieve that goal. And that's the law of gender. So these laws are beautiful. And again, what I fully believe the impact is so important is because they are laws. You cannot find anywhere in history where somebody broke these laws, where somebody gave negative attitude and got a really positive, successful result. You'll never find somebody who focused on a goal long enough with true desire and true belief and true action taking that didn't achieve their goal. That's not a thing. So if you can understand these and work in harmony with them, you are the creator of your own reality. I would not be here with this podcast, with this company, with the successful client stories, with the lives that I've impacted, had I not learned about these laws and started to act in harmony with them, because then I knew I'm doing the right thing. It just takes time for it to come to fruition. I focused on it long enough with enthusiasm, with creativity, that now by law, it's alive. It had to move into form. If you want to study these a little bit further, I think that this was a good little starter lesson, but definitely did not hit all the bases. If you want to study those a little bit further, or any of these other concepts submitted by the member, please check out that first link in the description of the episode. So actually under the description of the episode, that is the Magnify Course and Community. Literally, if you're spending $50 a week on alcohol or alcohol-related things, Ubers, cleaning up the mess, maybe back in the day I was a server, and so I would not just spend money on alcohol, but then I would call off on work, so then I would lose more money because I was hungover. So monetary-wise, the program pays for itself. There is no price that I can give you on the quality of life, the energy that you have, the memories that you're going to make with your family. But this is serious. I've read stats that people who are problematic drinkers in America spend $160 a week on alcohol. That equals a lot of money. That's basically $600 a month. So I know that I spent more than that typically. That would be minimum for me. Don't let money be a thing. Take action, because when you invest in yourself, that is also a way that you are planting a seed to come to fruition. That's also a way that you are focusing on a goal that has to move into form. That is also a positive cause for a positive effect. When you invest in yourself, you're putting yourself in a new vibration of, I'm the type of person taking action on this. So you're going to attract new things into your life. You're going to learn about the law of polarity. You're going to start to relate new things to yourself and relate yourself to new things as well. So all in all, take action. I love that you're listening, but if you need this to really, really impact your life in a way it's not already, then don't shy away. Don't be afraid. Get in the community. I've also got applications for one-on-one coaching under that. So get in, my friend. I would love to talk to you. I would love to help apply this to your life. Thank you so much for listening. Share with a friend that might need to hear this episode today, or any of the episodes from the past. I've really been enjoying hearing your guys' feedback. I love our little community that is growing. So thank you for being here. Between now and next week's episode, remember, you are in control. You are free from self-sabotage. It all goes down in the mind, and you control your mind. Think different to drink different, move different, eat different, feel different, see different, all of the above. Go on with your bad self. Talk to you soon. Magnify Maggie. It means the entire world to me that you have been here with me, letting me share my experiences and hopefully helping open your eyes to a bright, beautiful life ahead of you as well. So if you are loving this show, please, please, please subscribe, like, comment, and especially share this with somebody that might be in need. Please help get the word out. Word of mouth is so important. And I know that you're somebody special who can help me in this mission for thinking differently in order to drink differently or never again. Make sure you reach out if you have any questions you want discussed on the podcast. I'm here for it. So I'll talk to you soon. Signing out, Magnify Maggie.